just learning to adapt to sudden change. Ina says more resilient. That's so true. Catherine became more of a homebody. I think that's also true for most of us. Ronan, careful in terms of spending and handling finances. That's so true. Ina also stronger faith. We need that. Lorenzo and Kiko, I think, dude, we're batch, or you're one batch higher than me, I think. Try different industries. Yes, what's up, man? Rona, maximize time, more time with family, enjoying life. All right, thanks for participating. Yeah, a lot of us have definitely changed in the last 2 years. Why did I ask this question? Because this applies to your prospects as well. And I spent 2 years as a business development director, and one of the things that I do is the same exact thing that real estate professionals do, which is to look for prospects and hopefully close a sale now and then, because that's the nature of the business. So business development and being a broker is quite similar in that sense. We look for customers, and we have a pool of customers, and we try to funnel them down and close sales down the funnel. And by asking these questions, and I noticed that a lot of you have changed your behaviors, it's also important that our prospects, they've changed their behavior in the last 2 years. All the changes that you and I mentioned, those are changes that your prospects have also gone through. Spending more time online, yep. We're all customers too. So it applies to our prospects. They've spent more time online. Before the pandemic, I used to be closing more deals and more businesses during my public talks. I give 25 talks at least a year, and that's generally when I bring a stack of business cards, exchange business cards, set meetings with people, and that's how I generate my pipeline for my companies. But the pandemic killed that, and that was what I was good at. I knew I was good at meeting people in person, but then this whole virtual thing happened, and I realized this is very hard because there's no way for me to read your body language or see how your tone is. Are you happy with my presence? Should I move now, or should I bring you another cup of coffee? So I can't tell that. It's a bit harder. What else? People being careful with their finances. I think that's so true. When I was working on a real estate and a car automotive client, it's so hard to convince people to spend money on things that they think they might not be able to use. Like a condo. Why would you need a condo near the city if you're just working from home? It doesn't make any sense. Or like a new car. If you're a permanent work from home setup, then you're not going to need a vehicle because you can just have everything delivered to you. So there needs to be a tweak in the storytelling for you to be able to make that effect on your prospective target audience. Thank you for participating. Having said that, I want to introduce you to the main bulk of our session this morning, and that's the customer journey map. I teach this in all of my classes because I think if you understand the customer journey map, you are already so much more advanced when it comes to lead generation, especially if you're trying to close sales. As a business development person, I live and die by the customer journey map. If I know where my prospect stage is in relation to me as a brand, in relation to my company as a business, then I know exactly what to tell them. I know how to convince them. I know how to drive them down the funnel. So you're going to hear that term a lot from me in the next hour and a half. Driving people down the funnel, funneling them down into a sale, funneling them down into conversion. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with the conversion funnel. It's a fundamental aspect of being a salesperson. It's to identify prospects, get them to think about you, convert them into buyers. Okay, let's talk about the customer journey map. And for this, I will be annotating the screen a bit, so bear with me. There are 5 stages in the customer journey map, and I personally like using the ACARA model, ACARA, the ACARA model. Awareness, consideration, action, retention, and advocacy. These 5 stages make up the customer journey map. At any point in time here, you have a prospect. Awareness is when you're new to the market or you're new to the consciousness of your intended and potential target audience. If somebody has never heard of Ortigas, they are at the awareness stage. And you as a brand, in their mind, you need to work on the awareness stage. They don't know you exist. Consideration is giving people memorable reasons why they should listen to you, why they should believe in you, and why they should buy from you. In my classes, I call this, the concept is, I describe it as being in the mental shopping basket of your audiences. If you do groceries, and I'm sure a lot of you do your groceries, pre-pandemic, and even now, I think, well, now medyo recovering na tayo, and we're doing things outside. You're going around the supermarket, And you might think that you are a very conscientious shopper. You think and you believe probably that you care about what you put in your basket. Yes, that's true to a certain extent, but a lot of it has to do with your top 2 or 3 choices. And that's the food and products that you put in your basket. You're putting them in your basket not just because you want to, but because they are the top brands that you remember either consciously or subconsciously. And I want to prove a point here. We're going to play a game. Get on the chat box, be ready. I'm going to name a category. Name me the first brand that comes into your mind, okay? I'm going to name a category. Name me the first brand that comes to mind. Get ready. The first category, soft drinks. Name me the first brand that comes to mind when you hear the word soft drink. I knew it was going to be Coke. Okay, got it. One person said Pepsi. 2 people said Pepsi, but most of you will say Coke. If I ask you to name me a second brand, then most of you will probably say Pepsi. If not Pepsi, it will be Sprite. It's usually easy for the first 2 or 3. Let's play another one. Category. Cars. Name me a brand of a car. The first one that comes to mind. There's someone who said Ferrari. Probably, I don't know, maybe you're an F1 fan, but yeah, last night was a good time to be a Ferrari fan, no? If you watched. I see lots of Japanese car brands, and generally this exercise when I do this is Toyota or Honda. That's number 1. That's the top in people's minds. What is the usefulness of this exercise? Because I want you to do this later for your own brand and even for your name. When someone says, name me a real estate category player, I want you to be one of the first 2 choices of people. That is what tells you you have a strong consideration set. There is a memorable reason why potential target audience will listen to you, will believe in you, and will buy from you because they can associate your brand with something. People generally, I worked on Coca-Cola for about 3 years. It was my very first brand. It's the brand that made my name in the industry. So one of the things that I learned from that is that people don't have to know how to describe their relationship with the brand, like Coke. Like, what's really your relationship with them? It's enough that they feel it's the first in their minds. If you say there's a birthday party, what's the drink? It's gonna be Coke. Secondary na yung water and juice, most likely, right? So you want to have that memorable reason why potential customers are will remember you. So that's consideration. Being in the mental shopping basket, not just because it's an active choice, but also because it's a top 1 or 2 brand that's stuck in the consciousness of your target audience. The third is action. Action is a simple stage in the customer journey, but arguably it's the most important. In my opinion, consideration is the most important, but action is very important if you're in sales, because action is when you tell your customers to do something, they will do it. When your call to action is send me an email now, they will actually put their emails. Fill out this form and sign up for my newsletter, they will actually do that. Subscribe to your YouTube channel, they will do that. Follow me on LinkedIn, they will do that. Comment here your thoughts, they will do that. Because it's easy for them to believe you, they will do the action that you want them to do. Visit our showroom, buy now, book your pre-selling unit. An action happens. This is super important. Please listen. An action happens because they know who you are. They know why you're important in their lives. Therefore, if you tell them to do something, they will do it. The way I do this with my college students is the whole concept of dating. The guy or the girl needs to know you exist. They need to know your name. They need to know you're a nice person. Then among all of the other manliligos, you are the one who gives them a good reason. Maybe guwapo ka or maganda ka. You smell good. Your grades are not bad. You come from a good family, maybe. Good consideration points. And daming reasons. So consideration generally has all the reasons. So that by the time you ask the guy or girl out, they're gonna say yes to you. Simple. Buying a car, you gotta know your brand. You gotta know your needs. You have to know the context of your life. You have to know your budget, how much you can afford. And then you consider, which car fits my family needs? Which car fits my budget? Which car has the best loan amount or loan plan. Then if the car brand that fits all of these tells me to buy now, I'm more likely to do it. Real estate category. I know that your property here in my city exists. I know how much it probably costs. I know its location. Then by the time you have consideration, our location is prime property near 3 CBDs. Our loan payments is etc. etc. You can stretch it over how many years with in-house financing. And our broker always smiles at you when you're talking to them on Zoom. Then by the time you actually ask them to book a call, visit a showroom, it's easier because the person has made up their mind during this phase. They've made up their mind that they will listen to you, that they're willing to accept your message as a salesperson, as a brand, as a marketer. Sorry, Norman, I removed it. There you go. Okay? So awareness, consideration, and action. Now let's talk about the last two, retention and advocacy. Retention is also known as loyalty. When we talk about retention, these are compelling reasons why your current and your past customers should be loyal to you. I'll give you one of the concepts that I teach as well about how loyalty is not the best thing to aim for, especially in the category like real estate. But let's talk about retention first. Retention is just to avoid people from switching to a competitor. You want them to keep thinking about you. You want them to buy from you, of course. But the challenge here, especially with your industry, is that it's not simple to buy one condo after another, buy an office space one after another. Usually, it's a one and done deal. You're very lucky if somebody buys from you 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times. That's a rare occasion. That's actually not the best business strategy because it's over a long period of time, unless somebody is going to buy 5 condos. But then that's a one and done sale, most likely, right? So retention is good, but it's only good to a certain extent. The holy grail of the customer journey map is advocacy. The experience with you, either as a broker, as a brand, as a business, the experience with you is so good that they meaning your customers or your prospects, they cannot help but talk about you to their friends and family. This is why referral is king, right? Referral is super powerful. Like I found my broker for our lot because I checked with some friends, good reputation, and then I gave a talk together with him. He talked about I think marketing and investing. I talked about digital marketing, and we became acquaintances on LinkedIn. And then I checked some other friends on him. How good is he? He became my broker, and he's the broker that I recommend to my friends who are also thinking about moving down to the south. That's word of mouth marketing. That's referral. That's promoting another person because you're so happy with their services, and that's why I consider it what you should aim for, the holy grail of your customer journey map. Now let's see how this works out and why retention or loyalty is not the best. So at this point, please listen. When you have a loyal buyer, that's good. No one is saying it's bad. But when you have a loyal buyer and only loyal buyers, you are actually limiting how much sales you can make. You are limiting the reach of your effort because that person has reached their finite limit with you. If I buy a condo, I probably will not buy another condo in the next 5, 10, maybe 15 years. I mean, I have a condo now and we're building a house. I'm not sure if I want to buy another condo. And I also don't have funds to buy another condo. So for this developer, I've hit my limit with them. They are not going to make another sale from me probably ever. That's it. That's it. It stops at one. It's tough. It's a tough reality for a lot of us in sales because you always want a person to buy again. But the reality is it probably will not happen. So what you want to do is to give them such a good experience that they will help recruit other new buyers to you. They talk about the experience with a broker. They talk about the experience with the property. Maybe it's being managed so amazingly well. The amenities are incredible. So they talk about it to people. And what happens when your customers talk to other people? This is what happens. It generates a new wave of awareness. People who have never heard of you will now know your name. People who have never heard of Ortigas will now know the brand's name. it generates a new wave of awareness. And we know how that journey goes. After awareness, when they know the name, when they know what you stand for, when they know what makes you special and unique, they might start looking up more information about you. Then they start seeing, hey, the location's really great. The prices are pretty good. The payment terms are really affordable or really manageable with my life. So you've checked the box of consideration. So by the time these new groups of people who are in the market because they're intending to search, when they're in the market and they see one of your pieces of content or they happen upon you in public, their minds are prepared, they're primed to listen. And when someone is primed to listen, you can get them to take an action. If someone is in the market for a new property and you are right there in the moment with materials that tell them to give you a message or call me later or book a showroom tour, the chances of this is much higher. That's your customer journey map. Any questions at this point? I'll just get on the Q&A. So I've answered that one. You can get on the Q&A and ask me questions. I'll wait maybe 30 seconds. I'll also check the chat box. Okay, wala namang questions. While you type your questions, I'm just going to refill my drink. Please ask questions if you can. Okay, mukhang no questions. All right, that's fine. All right, let's move on. So hopefully this is clear. If this is clear, please let me know in the chat box it's clear or clear. Just type clear. All clear from Marinao. Okay, clear for everyone. Customer journey map. Okay, so the customer journey map, the Akara model, what it reflects is also the stages along the conversion funnel. So the conversion funnel, and this is something that you'll hear in some digital marketing courses, I think, here in the Philippines. They started using the terms tofu, mofu, bofu. Funny term, no? But I think it's funny. It's good because it's funny. It's easy to remember. Top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. Top of the funnel, tofu, is the awareness part. You're reaching as many people as possible, but probably at that point, not a lot of buyers, not a lot of contacts, not a lot of prospects, just a lot of people. You have middle of the funnel, where it's a good balance of a lot of people versus good prospects. And you have the bottom of the funnel, people that you could actually ask to take an action, either to get in touch with you, leave a phone number, visit a showroom. After this, bottom of the funnel, after the action, if the experience is good, they are retained as customers, and if the experience is really, really good, they start advocating for you, therefore generating another round of awareness for you as a brand and also for you as a broker, right? Advocacy. Logically then, we have to use digital channels or platforms that will deliver results depending on the consumer journey map stage. After everything that we've talked about in the consumer journey map, let's talk about how they apply your digital channels. Your Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, website, LinkedIn, right? Which ones are best depending on the customer journey map stage? And there are actually better channels depending on your stage. So for awareness, your performance indicators here should show reach. So a lot of reach, a lot of people, impressions, which is the number of that you are seen by your intended target audience, or market penetration. Just how many people can you spread to? So think about platforms that will deliver you a lot of awareness. I'll give you an example. Email is not good for awareness, because to get an email, to get into email, that means they're already aware of you, actually. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to get their email addresses. And if you're getting their email addresses without them being aware of you, it's probably illegal. Just putting it out there. So email marketing is definitely not in an awareness phase. So awareness is where you reach a lot of people and get in front of them as often as possible. That already tells you it's your usual social media suspects. Facebook, Instagram, most likely. TikTok is amazing for awareness. That's just how it works for those platforms. Consideration, the performance indicators that you'll be looking at here are predictive or indicative towards an action that your business wants. What does that mean? Predictive means if they're doing things with a brand, you can predict that they might either be buyers or baka wala lang. So examples of predictive engagement, people asking, HM po, that's predictive, right? You can predict that they would probably buy because they're asking how much. The make or break now is the price. But other than that, they're probably gonna buy. People asking, what's your phone number so I can contact you? That's very predictive as well. You can predict that they might reach out to you because they're asking for your phone number. Indicative would be things that indicate a potential interest. So if you have a content on Instagram and it's getting a lot of likes, a lot of hearts from people, that's an indication that your content is probably interesting. It's resonating, it's relevant with a lot of people. Your YouTube videos, if your YouTube videos has likes or views, then it's an indication that it's a topic that you should talk about more often, right? So those are performance indicators that indicate or predict that you can actually tell people to do something. An action, this is where performance indicators are very simple. Things that customers do or audiences do that you want them to do. So do you want them to share your video? Then you should look at a lot of shares. Do you want them to contact you? Then in your records, you should have a lot of people contacting you based on your Facebook post or your Instagram post or your YouTube video. If you want people to visit the Ortigas website, then the Ortigas website's Google Analytics should be able to show lots and lots of visits from your content because you're asking them to take an action. This also means that you're measuring different things depending on the platform. And that's a very important concept in digital marketing. If you're just going for virality, we want lots of views. That's one of the biggest ways I've seen brands burn millions of pesos because they go for views when the objective is to actually get email addresses or the objective is to drive people to a store so that they can buy more burgers. But then you're going for views. The views are not going to feed, unfortunately, your team or your employees. Unless your goal is awareness, then views makes a lot of sense. You want as many people to see it, not necessarily drive them to sale. That's not the point. So your results are highly dependent on what your goal is in the consumer journey map. If you think people in Ortigas, and as they should be, familiar with your brand, then awareness campaigns around Ortigas area is probably not going to work too well for you. Maybe you should focus on consideration, giving people a reason why they should move to Ortigas, why they should buy a property from you, why they should inquire about you, right? So that when you get them to do something, they're ready to do it. Retention or loyalty, the performance indicators here should show repeat purchase or brand loyalty. People who buy from you multiple times, that's an indication of loyalty. For when I was in business development, I used Salesforce, the software, and I would save my clients' names and their emails and their work emails. But I prioritize their names and their phone numbers because work emails can change over the years, right? People move jobs. That's just how it works. And then I noticed that some of my clients, the email to their email addresses are bouncing already. It's not being sent. That means they've quit from that job. But because I still have their names and their phone numbers, and I can mark if the relationship there was good, if they move to a new company, I can actually reach out to them via text. And I would ask them, hey, do you want to, did you move? And then if the relationship is good, they'll probably tell me, yeah, I moved to this new company. I said, and then I would set a meeting with them. It's easier. Do you need any sort of business strategy, or do you need media buying services? Do you need creative services? You know, naman, we used to work together. So I'm happy to do a presentation for you and your team. And my previous client is more likely to say yes to me. And in fact, that's how I generate my pipeline, by making sure that I know who my loyal clients are. And so as they move jobs, as they move careers, I'm able to get back and reach out to them again and again and again, and therefore secure more and more clients down the line because I get to meet new people through them as well. And finally, for advocacy, the performance indicators here are organic customer actions that are good for your business. Two parts in this: organic customer actions and good for the business. That's the part that a lot of people forget when it comes to marketing, and especially when it comes to lead generation, the good for the business. You know the saying, all publicity is good publicity, that's nonsense. As a crisis management teacher, I'm telling you that that's nonsense. If you've never managed a crisis before, a negative publicity is horrible for your share prices, employee retention, and even faith in the business. That's horrible. So not all publicity is good publicity. That was said by P.T. Barnum at the time when shock and awe was the only way to really get people to know that you exist. But in this day and age where we have values that are very important for businesses, do not do that. So organic customer actions are things like testimonials, referrals, reviews. Those are all good for the business because they indicate to a wider world of people that you deserve a chance to be seen by them. You deserve a chance to say your message as a brand. You deserve a chance to get them in a showroom or get them in a retail area or an office space area, right? These are organic because you're not paying for them. They are born out of great experiences from your products and services, which is why if you've ever attended other digital marketing sessions, there are some speakers who focus on customer experiences. I think that's really good because customer experience is so important in the era of social media, where a customer experience can be told to millions of people in a few seconds. In a tweet or in Instagram stories, you could make or break a business. So advocacy is even more important. So depending on what results you're looking for, then this customer journey map will guide you on which platforms to use. For advocacy, where do you want your testimonials to be seen? You probably want it to be seen on Facebook. You want it to be seen on your website because those are places that people might visit to learn more about you. Therefore, it dictates the kind of channels that you will use for your lead generation campaign. For loyalty, how do you want it? Do you want to show people that people are loyal to you? Then you want to make sure that you have happy customers talking about their experience with you, maybe as a post-purchase post on Facebook. Right? You would take a photo with your client and then tell the story of how they came to be your client. And that's a really, really good expression of retention because that person might never buy from you again. But in your content, it's showing that this person is loyal to you because the experience is good. So again, depending on your performance metrics that you desire, that is what will dictate your digital channels because each digital channel works better in one customer journey phase more than another. Any questions? If you have no questions, type clear. All right. Thank you. Thank you for staying with me. A lot of people still here. Good. That's good. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Here's the trick with a customer journey map. The first three, these are areas that you can affect things. You can do stuff by here as a brand, as a business. You can generate an awareness campaign. You could put out lots of reasons why people should believe you. You could get them to do something. These are things that you have control of, the first three. That's the great news. The challenging news is that the last two, retention and advocacy, it's quite difficult to play around with this too much. These are effects. You can only get loyalty, you can only get advocacy if people like you, if people like the experience, right? That's the only reason why, that's the only way you could have stories about retention, is if people actually will buy from you again or will tell you verbally that, you're so good to us that we will recommend you to our friends. That's the only way for you to get that, is after everything else. That's a post-purchase experience. Some companies kind of game the system. I'll give you two kinds of categories: credit cards and airlines. I worked on both airlines. I worked on Philippine Airlines for years, and they're still one of my more. They have a soft spot in my heart because I just love how the brand is. It's very Filipino, and the nationalistic side of me falls in love with the whole Philippine Airlines story. How do they retain people? How can they still affect retention? For credit cards, they give you more points. They give you no annual fee. For airlines, like what Philippine Airlines did during the pandemic, your Mabuhay miles will not expire. and then every year they just like refresh it for another year. So it keeps people loyal. It makes me not want to shift to a cheaper airline kasi sayang yung miles ko eh. Right? Sayang yung perks that I'll get. Sayang yung lounge access. Sayang yung all-in payments. So that's kind of how you can also game a little bit the effects, but it's about rewarding now your customers for being a customer. Not every brand can afford to do this. It takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of money, brains, and time. But if you can do it, it's one way for you to stretch the first three into becoming the first four. The advocacy part, that's tough. Because the moment you incentivize a customer to say good things about you, it's no longer organic, right? It's a paid customer action. So it doesn't necessarily have the same effect as an organic customer action. So you want to make sure that you're focusing on the first three in order to provide a good experience that retention and advocacy can happen to you naturally. However, to summarize, it is not impossible to, for lack of a better term, game the system a little bit so the retention is also incentivized from your customer's point of view. So that's how you can bundle in your referral, right? You have your referral percentage, the people that refer other customers to you. That's one way to keep them loyal because they have a monetary win or lose with the retention part. But you could also play around with other ways of doing it. I think real estate company should have a CRM system. I haven't experienced it. Not at least not in my condo developer. There should be like a point system. If you buy a condo, meron kang certain number of points, baka free na yung association dues for a year. I don't know. Could be something like that. Or a discount if you buy an extra parking. Big pain ko yan eh, parking. Mahal ang parking. I have a question from anonymous attendee. I'll just pause here and address this question. When creating campaigns, when can we know that we can already shift from awareness type of post to consideration then to action? Or can all three be done simultaneously? That's a great question. So whoever asked this, really good question. It's very insightful. As a marketer, my instinct is to go through the steps. I go for awareness, consideration, and action. How do I know? I make assumptions. So for example, I know that selling fast-moving consumer goods, FMCG, like coffee, fast food items, soda, the churn rate or the speed that how people make decisions to buy, it's very fast. I can make that decision in 5 minutes. Therefore, my awareness campaign can be very short, maybe 2 weeks. If you see like Jollibee or McDo, they have an awareness campaign for a new dish. After 2 weeks, you don't see the content, you don't see the ad anymore because they know people already have an idea of what it is. And they only know for sure that 2 weeks is enough because of past experience. So the name of the game here is experimentation. How long do you need to have an awareness campaign for? And for the real estate category, it might be longer. It could be 2 to 3 months. If you ever work with an agency or a marketing consultant, they will probably tell you to experiment between 30 to 90 days in an awareness phase. Usually 30 to 90 days is enough to get enough people to know that you exist. And how do you check if that exists? You can what's the word? Commission. You can commission a study from research companies like Nielsen. Even Facebook has one. YouTube or Google has one as well. And then they will do a survey online whether or not people are aware that the brand exists. If you've ever gone on YouTube, diba my survey, which of these 4 brands are you aware of? And then lately, ang nakikita ko are painkillers. I think maybe it's a function of me approaching my mid-30s. So nakikita ko na yung, which brand here are you aware of? Dolphinal, Alaxan, tapos may dalawa pa, Advil ata, and another one. Parang grabe naman to for back pains. No? So that's one way to do it. You do a commission survey. That's usually the best way to do it. It's not super expensive. So I will recommend if you're going to do it as a group to do it. And then there's a consideration phase, usually about another 30 to 90 days maybe. So you're talking about a half-year campaign for awareness and consideration. Consideration can also happen all the time. Most brands that succeed always are on consideration mode campaigns because how we define it is what explains it. It's giving people a reason to buy your products or services. Think about Apple. Apple is in always consideration campaign. They're always telling you about the new M1 chip. They're always telling you about their camera. They're always telling you about their quick charge, whatever. They're always telling you about the compatible accessories, always telling you about new models and new improvements on their products. So it's a constant consideration campaign since the iPhone was launched. So that works for them, a forever consideration campaign. Now, why is consideration campaign important for them? Because they're expensive. They need to convince people to buy them. It's not easy to shell out 70, 80, 100,000 pesos for a device, whereas your competitors have more or less the same functions for 30,000 pesos less. It's not easy. So they have to constantly convince you. They have to get into your mental shopping basket that they should buy you. So that might be applicable if you have an expensive or a more premium property. You're in always consideration mode because you're convincing people that your 10 million condo is much better, right? Emotionally much better than a 6 million condo from a competitor. Action can happen at any time. If you think that your customers are already familiar with you, they know what you're talking about, they know what they know what to expect, action can happen at any time. An example here is Jollibee. At any time, Jollibee can put on their page 87,000 Jollibee delivery. People will call the number because awareness is very high, consideration is very high. At any time, they can take an action. Toyota, anytime they put a Facebook post where sign up to get a discount for the email marketing, people will sign up because the awareness is very high, consideration for Toyota is very high. So action happens if you have a good enough awareness, which usually takes time, and good enough consideration, which means you have a lot of things to say to people that are believable. That this is where your unique value proposition comes in. What is good about Ortigas? What is good about your property? And try not to talk about your properties in generic other developer terms, like amenities. Most developers have amenities. A pool, most places have a pool. Talk about things that make your specific properties specifically unique, then that's good stories for consideration. Now, on the second part of this, haba nasagot ko, no? But I'm trying to make it as fleshed out as possible. You can do all three if you have multiple target audiences. And this can work if you have a lot of target audiences. Airlines and hotels are good examples here. They have awareness campaigns of new deals, new promos for people who might not know that they could actually afford to fly an airline or stay in a hotel. Consideration is an always-on thing as well for airlines and hotels, always giving you a reason why you should fly with them. And action always happens with their seat sales. And for hotels, it will be maybe lately what I've seen, mga buy one take one nights or mga 50 off, which is the same thing as a buy one take one. So they are happening at the same time because they're talking to different leads. They're talking to different customers. And if you think you've reached the point where you have that many customers, then you can do all three simultaneously. It's fine. Your job, and you are the only person who can do this. I won't be able to help you so much with this. Your job is to monitor your campaign every day to see which part of the campaign is working better. If your awareness campaign is generating very few views, but you're getting a lot of inquiries when you're telling people why they should buy you, and you're getting a lot of signups when you have content that asks people to leave an email, that means you should probably kill na your awareness campaign. Because okay na siya. Like, you have good awareness from your target market. People no longer interact with it. They know it. They would rather sign up. They would rather do an action for you. Then you can optimize. Optimization is also another key tenet in digital marketing. And the only way for you to optimize is by studying your data on a daily basis to see if there are things you can improve, things that you can kill, and things that you should start doing. Hopefully that answered your question. Yes, the black box is because I opened the question and answer. Someone messaged that to me. That's fine. Okay, at this point, any other questions? If it's clear, type clear. If you're the one who asked the question earlier, you could actually message me on Zoom directly. Because you asked it anonymously, I'm assuming you don't want people to know. Okay, it's clear for most people. Great. Great, great. Okay, let's do a quick learning checkpoint. Get on the chat box. What are the 3 stages of the conversion funnel? You can use the acronym, the FU. What are the 3 stages of the conversion funnel? Top, middle, and bottom funnel. Nice one, Gary. Daryl, okay, you all got it. Tofu, mofu, bofu, got it. Great. Next question. Why is the consideration stage critical for your business? This should be a sentence. Why is the consideration stage critical for your business? If there's a black box on the upper right of the screen, it's the chat box, so that I can see what you're responding to me with. Why is the consideration stage critical for your business? While you think of your answer, I have a question from Marco. Thank you for the question, Marco. Is it okay to create an awareness campaign for the seller and not for the brand? Yeah, I don't think that's an issue. The balance here is that what's more important, the brand or the seller? And there's no right or wrong answer here, because there are some brands that do well if you push the face of the brand, right? That's not wrong to do it. However, there's that balance, right? So because if the seller becomes really really big and parang naapawan yung brand, that could be a challenge. I first saw this when we were handling Guy Jessic at one point. It was so hard to get over the shadow of John Lloyd. Diba? Ingat, you think of John Lloyd or Derek Ramsey. I never handled Century Tuna, but my friends who worked on the campaign, parang after Derek Ramsey, ang hirap na makarecover ng share of voice. Kasi Derek Ramsey was Century Tuna at one point. So it becomes difficult. So yeah, it's okay to create an awareness campaign for your seller depending on your objective. Is your objective to make the seller known or make the brand known? No right or wrong answer there. It's about the balance. So answers for why is the consideration stage critical for your product? Catherine says so that people can listen and believe. Yes. Angelo, to introduce a reason why the service or product will help the customer in the long run. Exactly. Edwin says it helps us to look closer on what we're doing, if it's viable and understandable and believable. Exactly. Melvina says trust in your product. Yep, building trust. And Ara says giving the buyers reason to listen, believe, and buy from you. Yep, you got it. Last one for this learning checkpoint. What are the 2 journey stage effects of good experiences? What are the effects of good experiences? If the experience is good, what happens? Letter R and letter A. You get loyalty, you get loyal and advocacy. Yes, you get referrals. Yep, referrals, retention. Yep, all correct. Advocacy and retention. Yep, all correct. Thank you. I am relieved of that. That means you all listened. Thank you very much. All right, so some things to consider for your marketing, sales, and lead generation efforts. The first is that the duration of your customer journey varies per category, and yours being real estate, I'm giving you this heads up, it could be one of the longest. At the onset of my career, I handled a mall brand. The consumer journey to get like businesses in the retail, right? You have to sell office space and shop space. It's very long. It's 12 to 18 months sometimes. So be prepared that your customer journey duration is longer. On the plus side, you don't need to create as much content. Unlike FMCG, that every day you have to remind people because every day they could make a decision. So real estate, you don't actually have to make a lot of content. You have to be consistent over a long period of time because people will want to research first, read up, ask people about properties, go on Reddit. By the way, that's how I looked for reviews when I was getting this condo. I went on Reddit, see how homeowners feel about the developer. I'm like, oh, okay naman pala. So think about the person's journey before they make the decision to buy a property from you. And if you map it out, it actually looks really long. In the real estate category, it's about 6 to 18 months. And you know this more than I do. 6 to 18 months to make a decision before they actually sign the papers to buy or pay with a check, right? So it's very long customer journey map. And because yours is long, you have to settle in for the long game. Maybe your awareness campaign is much longer, baka 6 months. But telling people, guys, may pre-selling kami sa area na to. Tagal yun. And then you spend the next 6 months giving reasons. Baka every month you have a theme. Maybe there are 6 good things about your property. Then every month, meron kang, for that month, we're only going to talk about the location, besides siya ng future subway. On the second month, we're going to talk about how it only has, out of the many floors, meron tayong pinakamadaming elevators or lifts in the building versus all the other competitors. So convenience, the speed of going up and down. Third, baka you can talk about the nearby mall. Baka katabi ka ng estancia. So you talk about the lifestyle. If after work, you could enjoy life a little bit more because of the location. Then fourth, maybe commuting, traffic options. Not only are we beside the subway, actually there's this X number of main roads beside. Plus with our 4 or 5 floors of parking, having a car is not a problem, blah, blah, blah. And then fifth month, etc., etc. So because of the journey map, it gives you a good spread of putting themes in your content. Second is your metrics. For your metrics to be reliable, you have to be prepared to invest in time again. Do not give up only because after 6 months, you're not getting a lot of views or you're not getting a lot of inquiries. Maybe you're at the wrong stage. And this is where experimentation comes in. No brand gets into digital marketing knowing already what to do because you cannot compare yourself with other businesses. The way your brand performs on digital marketing is unique to your brand. You can't compare it with Jollibee. Iba yung binibenta. Sa kanila, Chicken Joy, burgers and fries. Yours is property. Iba yung laban. You cannot compare yourself too much with like a credit card brand kasi they go with volume. Right? They go with perks, giving out so much perks. And then signing up naman is a low investment action for the customer versus buying a property. So don't compare yourself too much with other businesses. Compare yourself with your own performance. And this will take time for you. For me, the way I've optimized my presence as a digital marketing consultant on LinkedIn and on my website, it took years. It took like maybe 5 years, 6 years before I would actually come up in digital marketing results. That takes time. And that's something that you have to be prepared for. But once you've reached the point where you have enough awareness and consideration, the leads will come in for you. And third is consider your own position as a broker along the prospect's customer journey map. And you should always assume that they don't know you. Maybe they know the brand, and always assume that they don't know you. Then in awareness stage, as a person, as a broker, the way you behave is different. Rather than asking people to call you, you have to assume that they don't know you. Why would they call you if they don't know you, right? It's the whole customer journey map concept with regards to dating. If you approach someone randomly and ask them to give their number to you, sketchy yun, right? It's not the best way to approach someone. So always assume in the customer journey map, you're probably around awareness and consideration. Therefore, you have to introduce yourself. You have to tell them why they should trust you. You have to inform people why you're believable. Maybe you've been working for the company for X number of years. You're one of the most awarded or trusted brokers internally. So you have to give people reasons. And you typed it all in the chat, right? It's about trust. It's about building credibility. It's about giving people reasons to listen to you. So consider your own position and as much as possible, assume that you're either on awareness and consideration phase as a broker, not necessarily as a business. Okay, we'll do a quick 5-minute activity just as a way to get everybody loosened up for the next or the second half of our session today. For you as a broker, as a brand, you're a brand, even if you're a broker. I want at least 3 volunteers. Sorry about the black box again because I'm opening the chat box in case I get volunteers. Identify the most critical stage for you and explain to us why. I have a question lang muna from Daryl. Since real estate campaigns are usually long-term plays, any tips on how to jumpstart the process, considering that you have a quota to sell every 3 months? Yeah, that's tough, and I've been there. I'm required to close before in my agency life. I'm required to close 3 brands of X number of million value every year. It's difficult in an economy like ours. So the way you jumpstart it is by, if you look at your customer journey map, right? You fast track the process by talking to the people who are probably loyal to you already, the retention and advocacy, those that can give you referrals to begin with, while you build your awareness consideration stage. If you're completely new to this category, there really isn't any way to jumpstart it because you're starting from scratch. And as with many things in life, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll, right? The words of Jack Black. You have to build, therefore, that customer base. So the jumpstart part is going to be super tough. And for digital marketing, what at least it helps you do is it allows you to reach as many people as possible. On LinkedIn, you could easily send out 100 messages a day. Then that widens your top of the funnel very fast. If you're completely new, but I'm assuming a lot of you probably have one or two contacts already, maybe a previous buyer, maybe you have friends who are looking for properties. Those could be ways for you to generate that advocacy layer for you. Because that advocacy layer will allow more people to see that, hey, you're a broker pala, no? And these people are happy with you pala. That generates awareness for you. So digital allows you to reach more people. Not necessarily fast track the process, but expand your scale, right? It allows you to have that bigger tofu. Good question. Tough question. All right, let's get 3 volunteers, please. Which part of the funnel is most critical for your brand? And explain maybe 1 or 2 sentences why. If you want to go mic off, I think we can also make that happen. Participants. I can probably pick 3 names. I would prefer volunteers, but raise your hand if you want to volunteer. You can type it or go mic off. Otherwise, I'll just pick 3 random names from the participants. Mary Rose has her hand up. Yes. I'm not sure if you have permissions to go mic off, but a mic on rather. But please unmute yourself if you'd like to participate. Angelo as well. Angelo, you can go first if Mary is still formulating her answer. Okay, I have an answer here from Catherine. Bottom of the funnel is the most critical for her because it's hard to close a sale even if you already have awareness and consideration from the client. That's true. Thank you. Enzo, go for it. I have 3 volunteers, Mary, Rose, Angelo, and Enzo. I don't know how you can unmute yourselves. Okay, yeah, just type your answer then if you cannot switch on your microphones. Middle of the funnel is the most critical, middle consideration. For Valerie as well, consideration, because even if you create awareness, there's so many competitors that does the same or option. That is so true. Actually, I wanted to get to that topic as well for middle of the funnel. It's the toughest thing for any category that takes time to make a decision on or that takes a lot of money from the customer. Because options are always out there. My tip for you is to never get into a price war. Price wars are deadly. The only way for you to win in a price war is by losing. And I think nobody wants to do that, right? By cutting your costs as much as possible. Price wars are dangerous because you're training your customers to buy at sale or buy at a discount. And when I gave a session like this for Cebu Pacific years ago, I told them that you've trained your customers to buy piece of fare. No one will buy a full fare flight from you. And it's true. They barely see anyone buy any ticket because you know next week may piece of fair yan. Maghihintay lang yung tao. So you've trained people to buy at a discount. You do not ever want to train people to buy at a discount. Therefore, the whole value story is so important. Think about the number one players in any category. They always have a value story. For Apple, you're not just buying a phone. You're buying a lifestyle. You're buying creativity. You're buying design. Those are things that people are willing to spend 100,000 pesos on. Because if you only sell specs, Samsung is probably going to eat them alive. Right? Even the new Huawei phones grab yung camera specs. That's wild. Because I'm shopping for a new phone. And I haven't bought one. Because I'm getting very confused. But I'm probably leaning towards Samsung only because I'm a big Windows user and I want to make sure that a lot of apps are compatible. So yeah, because middle of the funnel is probably going to be the toughest for many of you. For Enzo, his answer is the make or break spot where you should convince the client why you're the best property company to invest in compared to other big and established companies. Yep, I think that's a very strong point, especially the make or break decision and the convincing part. Convincing part is when you show all the reasons why, and those reasons why have to be accurate and relevant to your intended target market. So if your reasons why is that you're near a school, here's one thing I noticed with some other property specialists and brokers. They have content on Facebook. I know this because one of my cousins is a broker, and he's posted before, but he only did this once. He talks about locations being near schools, but the property that was attached to was like a one-bedroom for young professionals. If you're a working professional in your mid-20s, would being near a school would it be a relevant selling point? Parang hindi, right? You're not, why? Ano ba pake mo if it's near a school? And in fact, hassle yun. Kasi that means there's gonna be traffic in the morning and in the afternoons because you're near school. And you might not want to stay there if you are a young, single millennial looking for a property near the office. So you have to be careful with your message as well, given your target market. Awareness is the most important for Marcy. Without it, there will be no consideration and no action. Yep, of course. That's very, very true. Grace says the action, because after sending all the details, computations, and the benefits, others don't reply anymore. I can relate. I've been there. So I try to not do this to brokers that I've spoken to. If I'm not going to buy a property, I send them an email. Now, thank you so much for the time. I've decided that I'm not ready to purchase property from you at this point. Or I've decided to buy property from another broker. And give feedback. I think that's very important, giving feedback. Kasi as a business development guy, right? Masakit mag-ghost. In 2020, I'll give you some of my experiences. I had 48 leads. And 20 of them didn't even reply after like 3 or 4 follow-ups. I usually stop at 3 follow-ups. After that, I have self-respect na naman. I don't want to feel like naghahabol ako masyado. So mga 20 of them never replied. Sakit. So I get it. I get what you mean. And sometimes they participate to schedule for tripping and yet they don't come. Ay, grabe yun. If they agree on a trip and then they don't come, yeah. That's really, that's tough. So I would say all of you made very good cases for your stage in the funnel. What's the point of this activity? It's for you to identify where you should focus. It's about prioritization. You notice that we spent so much time in the customer journey map and funnel before even talking about the platforms. I think that's important. If we talk about platforms and we don't know where to use it, talo din. So first and foremost is to understand the consumer journey map, your conversion funnel, and prioritize where you're going to spend your efforts on. Because time is finite and your efforts are also very important. Your time is valuable. You don't want to spend it across the funnel if you should be focusing only on 1 or 2. Who's this? See, Atip, the deal is canceled because of financial fallback. I'm sure this has happened to a lot of brokers in the last year. In 2020, my friends and I were supposed to start a new business. We had a very successful gym concept, CrossFit Box, in 2015. And so we decided to close it January 2020, after 5 years in operation. Because it was already successful, we thought, sige, let's move on to the next concept. We were going to start a new concept. It's self-defense, specifically urban self-defense for women. we felt that was very important. Plus, the main financial backer here was a woman, and she's been assaulted, so she's very passionate about this new concept. This yung we already have a building space na naka-rent, and unfortunately for the owner of the building, we had to cancel it because March nag-lockdown, and our soft launch was supposed to be first week of April 2020. So we canceled the lease. And yeah, so Atif, I'm sorry, we're one of those people who did that. We had to cancel business lease because of the pandemic. Hopefully, ma-start ulit namin next year. All right. So with that, let's take a quick 5-minute break. We're on time for my simulation. It's exactly 10:45 on my watch. Hopefully, it's also 10:45 for you. We'll take a 5-minute break. Go grab a cup of coffee, go to the bathroom. I don't know, defrost your lunch for later. And I will see you in 5 minutes. Be back by 10:50, please. I'll see you in 5 minutes.